All right, so welcome. Let's see, let me just share my screen really quick. We are here to talk about Disaster Practice 2023, Sunday, June 11th. There are 11 hubs participating, so very excited. These are the 11 hubs, and I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves based on that order, top to bottom, and then we'll get started. So Anne, if you can start first, please, and Bob.
Hi, everybody. Ann Bond. I'm with the East Lake Hub, east side of Lake Union. And that's probably all you want, Ann. Thanks.
Is this your, tell us a little bit about you. Is this your first drill? Do you have a box? That kind of just basics.
We have 2 boxes in our neighborhood. It is my first leading of a drill in East Lake, but I have attended a couple of other drills, one last year that was fabulous, such a good learning experience. And I look forward to trying to do it on our own here in East Lake. I've been in the hub for about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now.
Excellent. And Anne, which of your East Lake locations are you activating?
We don't really have a choice. We have to do the school, much as I would prefer, honestly, to do the Pete's location, but Pete's is in the middle of a construction project next door. So we'll be doing it at the Rogers Playground at the school.
Okay, excellent. All right. And then did Mary Kate make it onto the call?
Hello.
Welcome. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, I'm Mary Kate Ryan. I live in the Jackson Place neighborhood. We're on the west side of Judkins Park. And I have been peripherally involved with the hub since we got it set up a couple of years ago, but we have never opened it, never activated it. I have done some disaster planning in my prior life and prior job on the East Coast, but that was more state level planning and not local exercise like this. So I'm looking forward to finally cracking our hub open and seeing what we can do with it.
Great. Thanks, Mary Kate. And then next is Bill Fay with the West Queen Anne Playfield.
Yes, I live in Queen Anne, and I'm the hub captain of the West End Police. Our box is right next to the Queen Anne Community Center. As well as I'm working with Frank Gall, who's actually the hub captain of Magnolia. Queen Anne and Magnolia, we have this MICWA group, Magnolia, Interbay, Queen Anne, sort of consortium. And so Frank is here tonight. Maybe he can introduce himself as well. So I've been with MICWA people, the Queen Anne and the Magnolia people, including my church, which is over in Magnolia, for about more than 10 years. So I've done several things, as well as I'm very involved as a ham radio operator. But in this case, as in other hub drill cases, I'm primarily working for the hubs and with the hubs. I'm trying to make things happen with the West Queen Anne Playfield hub before we do anything with, I will do anything with ACS, the radio people.
Thanks, Bill. And Frank, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Frank Gall. I'm over in West Magnolia Playfield, and I've been around about as long as Bill has. And I am also a member of ACS, but not as involved as he is. And the idea is we wanted to combine the 2 hubs because the community council and the community club in Magnolia have some contact back and forth with each other, and we want to just get them advised of the fact that we're here and we're still doing things, and hopefully have some of them come by and see what's going on.
Great, yeah, strength in numbers. Thanks, Frank. Next, let's hear from Laurelhurst, and we have Louise and Seeley and Beverly. Louise, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Louise and Seeley and Beverly are going to work on the drill with us, and Seeley will be handling the radio. And I invited everybody to come, and I think they're going to either come or use the tape, and I'm delighted. I was checking today, and we had our first cardboard box drill, in 2019, and then we had another cardboard box drill. And last fall we had what we called an open house, where we fully set up and tried to hang every chandelier that could be hung. But mostly it was showing the neighborhood what the tents were for and how it would work hypothetically. And there was very little actual moving through the hub with a situation. So this year, I'm hoping that that's exactly what we'll do, is try our systems, try to get somebody from A all the way through to wherever will be the right place. However it works, it would be great to give it a whirl. And I think Bev and Celia are totally on board for that, so.
Nice, we're totally gonna do that, Louise, excellent. Beverly and Celia, either one of you want to add anything to that? Or just wave your hand?
I guess I'm looking forward to the drill. I'm hoping we make a lot of mistakes so we can correct them.
All right, we'll build some in, I guess. Pat from Broadview, you're next.
Yeah, is Dale on?
I have not seen him.
Okay, all right. So our hub has not been set up for probably, I think the last time was 2017. And I was there, although I did not lead it. And I am going to lead it this time. Hopefully successfully, and get scenarios and just see what we need to work on. Mostly, I think the biggest thing is recruiting participants and volunteers, since we seem to have lost most everybody over the pandemic and the years that we haven't been setting up. So,
all right, excellent, thanks, Pat. And then Ballard Commons, Jody's here from Ballard Commons.
Hi, I have only been a co-captain at Ballard Commons for a few months. Our box was even locked up for quite some time after they did the sweep at Ballard Commons. And then, of course, the pandemic was before that. So we're getting back on our feet. And we're in good contact with some of the other hubs in Ballard. So we're hoping that this will be a good jump start for us getting back up to speed, and for the other hubs too. I live a block and a half away from Ballard Commons, so that's a big help. So it will be good to give it a go and see what we can do. We have a lot of people around our hub, so we need to get it all together.
Yeah, thanks, Jody. And like she said, her co-captain is Colin, who couldn't make it tonight. Yeah. Next, let's hear, well, Crown Hill is going to activate Daniel. I'll screw up his last name, Schwab. He's the co-captain there, brand new. I don't think he's going to make it on the call tonight, but hopefully he'll be able to join us soon. Oh, there we go. Okay. So Linda Norland from Lakewood Seward Park, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah. I have been with the hub since 2019 when we reorganized. In that time, we have never set it fully up. We have brought pieces of it to meetings, and we've worked with pieces of it, but we have never set the whole thing up. So that is our main goal this time, although we want to do some other things also. And the other thing is we really would like to make ourselves known to the neighborhood. So it's a lot about communications as much as it is about setting it up.
Excellent. Thanks, Linda. Dolores from Hope Lutheran. I'm glad you could be on the call. I thought maybe you weren't going to be able to, but welcome.
So no, this is evening. It's fine because I'm working during the day. So it's great that you scheduled. So I'm Dolores, and I have a hub at the Alaska Junction, which is positioned in the planting strip east of our parking lot for the church. So really it's the intent was to engage people at Hope Lutheran, my church, in participating as a community connection. And we did activate probably in that 2017, I believe. It's been 5-6 years at least. And I would like to do it again. So we're very rusty. There's I think a lack of awareness of the fact that we have this emergency communication hub. So I want to use it to engage people. We just extended or enlarged our campus, and we have now the high school facilities. We are taking ownership this spring, and the school is going to expand. So we are essentially an even greater part of the community, in that our elementary through middle school is going to be on 2 campuses, a block away where the high school was. And the idea is, well, it closed down this a year ago, and eventually we would grow our school. In the meantime, there's a heightened interest in being more vigilant, I think, about our connections with the community because of our extended footprint. So I'm just going to capitalize on that. We're going to, I think, have a great, this June 11th should be a nice sunny day. So it should be great.
Fingers crossed. Thanks, Dolores. And then lastly, from Anne from South Park. Anne, you're still muted if you're talking. Hopefully you're there. Your camera's not on. Okay, maybe Anne had to step away. I'm going to show you.
I can go.
Oh, I'm sorry, Matt. How did I skip you? I had you on here. Go ahead.
Matt Blank, the Ravenna Eckstein Community Center Hub. And yeah, we've done a couple of small events activated during a shakeout event with some other Northside hubs. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but yeah, getting some more interest from the community board around this. So I think that we'll probably have a few people showing up, and others from North Seattle have expressed interest in joining us.
Great, thanks, Matt. Yeah, I'm excited for you. Anne from South Park, Anne Churchill. Okay, I'm going to show the map. Hopefully you're seeing what I'm seeing, which is a largish map of Seattle, and those are the 11 hubs. So really spread out really well. I'm tickled. We're kind of missing something in the northeast, northeast of the city. But I think it's a pretty good mix of folks. So excellent.
Say Anne?
Yes.
It doesn't show Bill's Hub up on Queen Anne.
I wasn't sure. I just put one in Magnolia, I guess it is. I'm not sure.
No, I think it's there.
Do you? Okay.
So it's this circle.
Oh,
this star.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay. It's probably not in the right place. This was kind of preliminary. I knew you guys were activating.
Cool okay. Thank you. My mistake.
Yeah. No worries. So what we're going to talk about tonight is a couple basic stuff. I owe you guys ad material, basically promotional material. I'm kind of stuck on a name and just writing it up, but I promise you I'm working on it. And I will get that to you as soon as you can. So let's skip the promotional stuff for right now and go to one of the other topics that I was hoping to cover tonight, which was getting a couple key people signed up to truly help you. And the two folks that I'd like for you to concentrate on first is who's going to be the starting hub captain. And our hours for this drill is 1:30 to 4. So it's not super long. Theoretically, I think you could have the same hub captain the entire time. But if you did want to switch off, I would suggest, because it is kind of short, I would suggest having a first person and your second shift for that hub manager role. And then the other key role that you really can't do without is the person that hands out pieces of paper to neighbors walking up, the scenarios. A lot of times they have a bucket with all these pieces of paper in there, and I'm going to supply that, so you don't have to create these. But typically there's a bucket with pieces of paper in it. The neighbor pulls one out, walks up to the greeter and reads it. So that person, what you're looking for is somebody that's very like kind of your social butterfly, who doesn't mind talking people into kind of doing things they maybe don't want to do, because everybody wants to stand back and, I'll just watch. Well, that's nice, except it's so easy to get involved, and it makes so much sense so quickly. So you really do kind of have to nudge them along. So find those people just to make your lives easier. It could be you, but if you're going to play the hub captain, then obviously it's not you. So it's let's call them your pre-greeter. Somebody to hand out those slips of paper to somebody. So that was one of the first things I wanted to cover, was making sure you had that person, lock that person down.
Not non-violently, of course, and probably would be good to have two people on that job too, because being outgoing for that long can be a drain, even if you're outgoing.
Yeah, it might be a little rough. The second thing I wanted to talk about was setting a goal for your hub. And this is different than the goal for the network. I am still working on the goals for the network, but I would like for you to think about what's the goal for your hub. It could be as simple as, we want to stand up our hub and make 6 matches. Family that needs diapers, family that has diapers, mixing, hooking those two together. Or the plumber and the person that needs a plumber. Let's make that match. So maybe that's your goal, is I want to set up my hub and I want to make 6 matches in the resources or supply tent and 4 matches in the volunteer coordinator tent, something like that, so that you know exactly what you're trying to accomplish with this. So that would be an example of a goal. It sounds like a lot of you had done a lot of baby steps of opening up slowly and that kind of stuff. But I think what I'm hearing is most people are ready to really kind of push this a little bit and actually get some paperwork up on the board and start making matches, because that's the piece we have a hard time practicing. The other thing I'll say is I haven't exactly put this down in writing yet, but I'd like to say that maybe this isn't the 0 hour after all the power went out. So maybe this is day 2. And so you have something staged already. There's a few things written on your board. And again, I will provide this, but your information boards, maybe you open up with a couple things on your information board and 7 or 8 or 12 pieces of paper organized already on your resources board, so that you're not starting from ground zero with nothing to do. Like your resource manager, your supply person doesn't have any matches to make because it's, we just had the event and nobody's given them any papers to manage. We can start this drill hours or days into it so that there's already stuff staged there. Does that make sense?
Sounds good.
So I'm leaning towards, let's do this. This is day 2 or 3 after the power has been out. And that's our scenario this year. I probably haven't been super clear. We're not doing an earthquake this year. It is a massive power outage, the likes of which we have not seen before. And this isn't, a few people are without power. It's the whole grid is down for the city of Seattle / all of the West Coast. So it's a big power outage. So you're not going to have lots of broken bones and not, there's no search and rescue teams, but it's a lot of how do you deal without electricity? How do you cook? How do you keep people warm or cool or keep their cell phones? Well, we're not even sure we're going to have cell phones, but like durable medical equipment. What if somebody is at home on a oxygen concentrator and can't live without it? How do you deal with that? What if somebody's on insulin and they have no refrigerator for their insulin vials? How do you deal with that? That's the kind of stuff we're pushing with this drill. is how do we deal without electricity? It's so much more than just there's no lights. We're going to hear from Seattle City Light and also SPU about what happens if there is a massive power failure. If you live at the top of the hill, you need a pump to get water, fresh water, up to your home. If you live at the bottom of the hill, you need a sewage pump to pump that stuff away from your home. So if there's no electricity, do we have running water? Do we have operating toilets? That kind of stuff. So those are the scenarios that we're going to ask our neighbors to read to us. Okay, less damage, less shaking, less terror, frankly, and more, how do we deal without electricity? Okay, and then like I said, probably a couple days in, so that if you guys are all okay with this, so that there are things that are stationed, that are staged, that's the word I'm looking for. They're staged and they're already on your boards, ready to be managed when your volunteers step up. So any questions or concerns about that?
So
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Frank.
So if I follow you correctly, then we have needs, resources, lost, found, volunteer, and that some of the stuff we're going to put up on that board would be reflected with potential matches in the first scenarios we read.
Yep.
We put up 12,
exactly.
remember we got 10 matches in the first scenarios.
Yep. I
Okay,
typically write scenarios where there's a need and a have, and eventually those two are going to match.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, we should make sure that we do have a definitive timeline for our communications and date things appropriately, so you know what's going on. But exactly. I did have a question about the utilities. Did we ever get an answer on the natural gas situation?
I am still working on that.
All right.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to, working on it. Linda, you had something to say.
Yeah, so the stuff from City Light and SPU are going to be incorporated into the scenario?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. My goal, so Seattle City Light and somebody from a weather guy are going to talk to us this Thursday at the deep dive and explain more about what we think would happen if there was a massive power outage. Like, I'm assuming water and toilets aren't going to work, but I need to hear that from somebody that knows. So I'm trying to get that information from Seattle Public Utilities, but anyway, Seattle City Light will be there. Basically she's going to say if a transformer goes down, it is 12 to 18 months before that thing goes back up, because these are massive pieces of equipment and they're like $1.5 million or something. They don't have a warehouse full of them. So power outages, when power goes down hard, they last a very long time. So, let's start wrapping our head around that issue.
You were talking about sometime this was going to be, we could learn about this shortly. What meeting are you talking about?
The deep dive is this Thursday.
Oh, I didn't get that.
7 o'clock.
7, okay.
Yeah. So there's something that happens every fourth Thursday of the month. It's either a hubcap
Thursday of the month. Okay.
Fourth Thursday of the month. It's either a hubcap meeting or a deep dive. And this month, April, is a deep dive.
Fourth Thursday.
And can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Dolores.
Is it do we have the Zoom link?
I will send it out. It's the same
okay.
one as, I'm pretty sure it's the same one we use for the hubcap meetings.
Okay.
Yeah. Matt just put it in the, thanks, Matt.
I had put it in the Discord, so I can use that.
Okay. Celie, were you going to say something?
No, I'm all set. I'm taking it in.
Okay. So a couple things I'd like to, let me back up and tell you some really good news. We just found out today that the grant we applied for, you might remember this from the hubcap meeting in March. We said that anybody that activated during this June 2023 drill would get a neighborhood map. Well, we wrote a grant and we're buying everybody in the hub system a neighborhood map. So we just found out that they're about $50 a pop, but they're nice and big. It's only your neighborhood, which frankly I think is so much more valuable than a big map of the city. You know, I don't care what bridges are down or whatever. You know, I just want to know what's going on in my little neighborhood. Everybody in the hubcap system will get a neighborhood map, and I'm going to make sure you guys get yours first. So I will be sending out a form you have to fill out that says, what are your boundaries? Basically, you know, what's the northernmost street, southernmost street, east and west, kind of what are your boundaries of your neighborhood? And then you'll work with the map guy. It's Kroll Maps, who's downtown Seattle. You'll work with him to make sure that it does encompass the spots you want. It's got things like fire department, police station, hospitals, schools, parks. It's got all the normal things on there you would expect, and street names, that kind of stuff. So anyway, we found out about that. So everybody will have a neighborhood map. I would like the scenario. Yeah, I'm very excited. I would like the scenarios that your neighbors read in your hubs to truly reflect your neighborhood. Like, I don't want to put an address on there that says 123 Main Street if there is no Main Street in your section of the city. So I will need a little bit of help from you guys to do that, to plug in addresses for places that are truly around you. So you could actually mark them on the map. Oh, there's a downed power line, or there's a fire, or whatever, at a place in your neighborhood that actually exists. And you could have a scenario that says, you know, we need to run to the nursing home that's at blah, blah, blah. And, you know, theoretically, you could have somebody, you know, walk over there and come back with some information or something. So we've done these drills in the past where everybody got the same scenarios and with the same addresses on them. And half the time, you know, 1/16 of the time they actually worked, because they were from your neighborhood. So I would like to see the scenarios very specific to your neighborhoods. So your neighbors go, oh, I get it, you know, and you really can do something with that. So that's one of my goals. Let's go back to goals for the drill. Go ahead, Ann.
It occurs to me, Ann, that we don't have hubs for many parts of the city. For instance, I don't think there's one in South Lake Union. And, you know, it's probable that people from that neighborhood, for instance, would walk up to Eastlake. So as we're talking about creating maps for our neighborhoods, should we be thinking about what that broader definition should be?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm going to show you a tool I found that might be helpful. Because yeah, it is a thought. But I don't think you should develop your catchment area, that's what I'm going to call it, based on what's around, what hubs that are or are not around you. Basically, we think nobody's going to walk longer than 15 minutes to get to a hub. If they can't get there in 15 minutes, they're not coming. They're going to, frankly, they're going to develop their own, I guess. So this is a tool, and I will send this out. It's a website. I typed in, this is 1747 Northeast 106. That's the site of my hub. And I put in there walking distance of 15 minutes. And so this green area is kind of what I consider my catchment area. Now, you have to know your neighborhood, because here it's a little hard to see, but there's a creek that runs through there, and it's pretty slippery, and you know, there's a ravine or whatever. So I consider this Kingfisher area, it's Thornton Creek, I consider that my like southwest border, because people aren't crossing that area to get to my hub. There's hubs closer to them on that side. So it's not just streets, but it could be physical barriers. You kind of have to know your area. So, but I will send out this link, and you can, again, just type in the address of your hub and then find a place where it says 15 minutes walk, and that's what it'll show you.
Yeah, that's a cool tool. Thanks.
Hey, Ann.
Yeah.
Well, our hub did a little bit of thinking about this, and we've made up several different maps. And we were figuring the rule of thumb of 20 minutes because it's like a mile in each direction. And it kind of comes out real well with us because it lines up with some census tract, 5 census tracts. It lines up with the post office zone, and it just kind of works for us. So I just want to mention it might be a little elastic on that.
Yeah, if it, you know, maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's 25 minutes. It's all kind of what you think. We don't know because we never actually put these into practice. The goal of the city. The city has this imaginary goal of we want a hub within a half mile of everybody in Seattle. But as you know, we don't just plop down hubs where we think they should go. They really need to come from the grassroots up. So yeah, so whatever makes the most sense for you, and you can put the boundaries of your map wherever you want them. I have to verify this, but the first map will be bought by the network through this grant at $50. And then if your hub has the cash, or if somebody wants to donate the cash, a second map is $42. So he's given us a break on the second one because, you know, it doesn't take any brain power past that point. They're really nice quality maps. They're pretty big. They're like 24 inches. Well, it really depends on what dimensions you give them, but basically most of them are 24 inches wide by 34 inches tall, something like that. And they're laminated, so you can write on them with a dry erase marker and it'll come off.
Did you put the link in the chat yet, or
I haven't yet.
Okay,
I'll send this to you. Yeah, I'm trying to develop a form where you can just fill it out and then email it to this guy from the Kroll Map Company and me. Because there may be a little bit of back and forth conversation between you and the map maker on, you know, how you want things. And that's fine. He's up for that. What was I going to say? Darn, lost my train of thought. Yeah, so keep your boundaries fluid, make your best guess, and then we'll see. Oh, so the second map is $42, and it's just a duplicate of the first one. I personally am going to ask, either I'll pay for it or I'll get my community council to pay for it, but I think multiple maps would be very helpful. A lot of it is, in my head, when somebody at the resources, the supply tent, goes, oh, I see that there's diapers available at blah, blah, blah address. Yeah. I'm not a person that can read that address and walk to that house. I need to see where I am on a map and where that house is, and then I could navigate there. So I think a map at the resources area is not a bad idea. I definitely think one at the information area, so that you can mark things like Downs power line and bridges out and whatever. And then the volunteer coordinator tent, I think, again, would be another good spot. I don't think you can have too many of these, frankly. At $42 a pop, maybe you can't, you know, get a ton of them, but I don't think an extra one at $42 is a bad idea. Hang on a second, Pat. Go ahead, Linda.
Mesker's Maps sells a really nice book of maps of Seattle, and we took the one page for our neighborhood and copied it and laminated a bunch of them to put in the little booklets of the job descriptions. And you know, I didn't feel bad about the copyright infringement, since we're not going to use anything except an emergency, and I figured, you know, we're only using one page. So just that way, I think that book is only like $17 or something. So, you know, then you can scan it and use it, make a bunch of them.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if they're available at the library.
Could be.
Yeah. Or if somebody has a copy and wants to.
The reason this was so cool is it was wire bound. So it opened flat. It wasn't bound like a book. So it was really easy to scan. Yeah.
That's a really good idea. I wonder too, if you could scan that and blow it up a little bit. You know, I'm not against fudging a little bit, because like Linda said, we're not selling these, we're not making a profit, we're supporting our communities. I think it's valid. Okay, so let's go back to goals. Anybody else have a goal in mind that you want to share? Yeah, go ahead, Louise. You're muted still.
I would really love to have us work on the radio at some level and have at least trying it. You know, we can say we didn't connect, it didn't work or whatever, but that we actually tried to receive or send something to another repeater, maybe is the most likely. And I'm Seeley, the expert, is currently looking for connectivity possibly, but he's on board, and we have a wonderful person who I think is going to come co-work with him on that day. But that would be a goal in my mind, is to try a flying radio message.
Sweet. Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. We will build those in. Radio messages will come from the city to the hubs, and we might even ask for a reply. I haven't gotten that far. Yeah, we will. Radio messages will be injected into the scenario. But yeah, setting a goal of, you know, I want to be able to reach 5 different hubs or send 6 messages to the city. I think that's a fabulous goal.
I'm aiming for 1.
Set the bar low.
I would be delighted if that happened. It'd be great. We've got good people that could happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, I'm not an official spokesman for ACS, and so what I'm sharing with you is actually brief. But ACS is definitely going to be doing an exercise on June 11th in collaboration with what the Hub is doing. Just a few things I know. One, we all know about the 7 sectors. Well, what they're probably going to do is do 2 sectors, a north sector and a south sector. So they're going to simplify sort of what they're going to do. And the other element that they have alluded to is that they're going to be, you know, sort of deploying people. That's the whole idea of how ACS and the incident command system works. And that is, you call in and say, I'm ready. They tell you where to go. And then you do what you're told to do. But in this case, they're going to be maybe sending hams to the hubs, but then they might also be redeploying them to go someplace else. And so exactly what other information is going to be coming down the pike from the EOC or whatever, or from the sector or whatever, we don't know. They're sort of waiting to get past this Saturday, which is called the 5th Saturday drill. And that's a whole nother thing. And they're kind of focusing on that. But as we get into May, they will start putting plans together, and they'll be involved in and around us. And so that's what ACS is doing. At the same time, Frank and I have been talking about what we want to try to, our goal here in Queen Anne or in Mi'kmaq, and that is basically to pull out all our either GMRS radios or our RT22 radios that we have, or even maybe our BTECs, and try to make some more contacts in and around our neighborhood, just to see how well it works. We've had a lot of this equipment, we've built it up. Some of it's distributed, some of it isn't, and we want to try to utilize that in addition to running a hub. So that's sort of the goal that Frank and I are talking about, and it's a little bit about what ACS may be doing above us.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, we will definitely be talking to ACS, and we can figure out, you know, do they want to tell us exactly who's showing up at our hub? Or do they want it to be a surprise? That kind of stuff. So I'll get as much information out of them as I can. Share it with you guys, and then you decide whether or not to share it with your rest of your team, whoever shows up. Some things you may want to be a surprise for your team. Okay, I think I'm about done for right now, unless you guys have any other comments. We're gonna postpone promotion until I get something in your hands. But I want you to be thinking about goals, and I will ask you for your goals. If you'll send them to me, I'll put them out to everybody as a list so that you have more to pick and choose from to set goals for your hub for this event. I think it really helps create an atmosphere of productivity around your drill. not just a willy-nilly, we're going to open up the box and see what happens, but really, really try and focus your efforts on accomplishing the things that you believe are the most important. So I will write goals for the overall drill, and then I will ask you guys to write your goals, and whether or not you share them with me, I don't care, but if you could, that'd be great, because then I'll pass them out to everybody else, and so you can share the wealth. But think about what you want your team to accomplish, and then share that with them. And then we talked about making sure that your hub manager job is filled either by you or someone else. Think about whether or not you want 2 shifts or not, and then find that social butterfly person to wrangle all of the folks standing around into actually getting engaged and not just watching. Okay. Lots more topics to talk about. I just thought those were the ones that were most important to start with, and then we will meet again.
So is there going to, I was just going to, just real
Go ahead,
quick. It seems like we debrief, and is there a plan to debrief collectively afterward?
You mean after the hub drill? Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
That'll be part of the planning down the road a little bit.
Okay.
Go ahead, Linda.
My big concern is signups and having enough volunteers. And so I cannot just only know I have a hub manager and not know who else is going to be. I mean, I really need to sign people up. And
yeah, so, that anxiety.
Yeah, I never know in our hub who, you know, who's going to come and when. And so I'm just wondering, is there going to be a concerted effort about signups, or are we all on our own on that? And here's why I really wonder, because, okay, if only 10 or 11 hubs are actually participating in the drill, aren't all the other people in the hubs invited? And how are they going to know where to go and who needs people to show up if we don't do it all together as a group?
Right. I'm happy to create a sign up for all 11 hubs that are activating. There's a balance between getting your neighbors to step in and do the job versus having all your slots filled with hub captains. You really, you know, if it was me, I want my community to step up and learn these jobs. That would be my priority versus putting, you know, somebody else from another hub in. So thoughts. I mean, like I said, I'm happy to create a sign up sheet, and then
I appreciate what you're saying there, Anne. It seems to me that at a minimum, because I'm kind of share your anxiety about just counting on people showing up, and I would really want to have people sign into the roles as well, but maybe we could simply say, do you live in the neighborhood? We'd like you to see how this works. Maybe you'd be willing to spend 15 minutes here and just shadow this person in this role, see how it works. Then if they don't even want to stay for a long time, they can be in place and seeing somebody do a role that they might step into at some future real date.
Yeah.
That's a great,
go ahead, Jody.
One of the things I've been talking to people about is how well organized the booklets are for the jobs. And they're organized that way so that someone can just come in and do it. If they've had a little training, fine. If they haven't, there's still enough there so they can do the job. And I think there is something empowering about that. So that, you know, the second person that shows up has the job on the booklet that's number 2 in the priority list, and you say, here, sit, you know, read this through. It's a page or 2, and then let's have you function here and see how it goes, and then rotate those jobs through when other people come, because part of what we're training for, it seems to me, is to be flexible with what happens. And I can see some prior planning, but I can also see we have to practice being flexible and opportunistic. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it. There's pluses for both. It kind of depends on where your hub is. If you're trying to get 17 neighbors in your community that even understand what a hub is, have any kind of an idea of what a role might be, then I can see the value of having somebody actually, you know, have time to prepare for that role before they show up the day of. I know you really like the books, Jody, and I get it. I like them too, but I think in the anxiety of the moment, I think even as short as they are, I think they're too long. I think they're just a little too big. But I'm sorry, I'm getting off course. Let me create a sign up. I'll show it to you guys the next time we meet. And you know, yeah, we'll just go from there. If you want folks in all of your spots, and you know, you want to make a strong pitch to the hub volunteers around you, great. Get them all filled with kind of like Jody's idea of then you get that social butterfly, the one that's handing out pieces of paper to neighbors. You get them to go, hey, you've been through this hub thing twice. Why don't you go stand next to the hub manager and see what they do and see if you might be comfortable taking over that position? Or, you know, the resources person looks like they need a little help finding matches. Why don't you go over there and see if you can help them? So start with a hub volunteer that knows what they're doing and then backfill with a neighbor that doesn't. Go ahead, Linda.
I was just thinking one other thing, you know, we could, once you have the sign up, we could first try to fill it with our neighbors, with our immediate, you know, a real heavy recruitment first. And then if there's gaps and we're really feeling, you know, a little bit uneasy about that, then open it up to the other hubs and say, you know, could you help reinforce, you know?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, so let's find a time to meet next. I will have my goals written. I will have my goals, meaning the network's goals. I will have the advertising stuff ready to go as much as I can to send out to you guys. And then I will have a sign up ready. Okay, I can do that in a week if we can meet next Monday. Does this work for you guys?
Yeah, fine.
No, Linda's
No,
shaking her head no.
I have my hub meeting on Monday, first Monday of the month.
Gotcha. Trying to see what other days. My days are just packed. Yeah, all I have is Monday of next week, unless you guys want to do Friday, and I don't really want to do Friday night.
Well, it's recorded, so you know.
Yeah, let's do it Monday, and then yeah, I will send the recording out. Okay, any last minute items?
This may be off topic slightly, but the one area of our hub that's really underdeveloped is the volunteer coordinator system. And in fact, that's the next thing we have to tackle. And I'm just wondering if there's any update, because the last time I heard was in the deep dive of last October of the guy from Finney Ridge, I believe. And I don't know what happened with it after that. And I just wonder if you have anything to give us, or if we're on our own to kind of figure out something.
I absolutely have something to give you. I just shared it with Jody last night. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
So I think most of you have probably heard about the pocket organizers, these pantry organizer things.
Yes.
So, you know, they're hung vertically. We have the ability to put grommets in them and hang them horizontally. And I will send out, I just redid mine literally last night or 2 nights ago. I have one for resources, for supplies, and I have one for the volunteer coordinator. And I will send out how I labeled my pockets. So I have 4 of those total, but I only have 2 of them pre-labeled. I think, so I'm like putting haves and needs in the same folder, in the same pocket. So one of my pockets says water, and I have haves and needs both stuffed in there. I'm not sure that'll work, but I didn't want to go any bigger than those two. I have a lot of canopies, but not everybody does. So I don't think everybody has tons of hanging space. So I will send out how I organized mine, and I'm going to develop a volunteer coordinator form. We have one, but I've done some thinking, and I think I got a little better way to do this. So I'm gonna make a form to go with the way my pockets are labeled, and I'm happy to share it with you guys. It's this is out of Anne's head. It hasn't been tested, but I think it's smartly done. So I will send that out. Yeah. I'm glad you asked about that, Linda. Yeah, go ahead, Pat.
How many pockets are in those things? Because I want to order mine soon.
That's a good point. There are 15. Yeah, 5 rows, 5 columns, 3 rows, so 15 in each.
And what Anne sent me had the source for getting them.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can't find that and put that up right now. One of the things I noticed when I was shopping around for Jody's was that they have ones with dark backgrounds, so they're gray on the back. I thought that made a lot of sense because you can't, on mine, it's hard to tell if there's paper in there because it's actually clear on the back. I thought it was white on the back, but it's clear. So I think something with a darker background might be, you might appreciate that. It might work a little bit better. So I just, in the chat, I put the link to the one that I just sent Jody today. It's got a gray backing. And again, it's 15 pockets.
All right.
Okay. All right. I'm going to let you all go. I know Matt's going to go to the GMRS check-in. Couple things Channel I need 6. To do. There we go. Which repeater is that, Matt?
That's the Northeast Maple Leaf repeater.
Maple Leaf. Okay, sweet. So a couple things I owe you guys, and what I want you to do is find those key people and write down some goals. Think about what it is you want to accomplish. And then when you do that debrief at the end of the drill, you can go, these were our 3 goals, and look at that. We met every single one of them. So you're building in a sense of accomplishment.
You sent out something about the deep dive. I must have missed it.
Yes.
Okay.
I will. Yeah.
All right.
That's coming.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to give everybody back their evening. We will see. Okay. I'll see you guys all 7 o'clock next Monday. Okay.
Sounds good.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.